Hustles playing out in the ICT sector are due to lack of competition. The past week has seen some activity taking place in the industry, with the Independent Communications Authority of South Africa, or ICASA, dropping the interconnection fees to 40 cents. This is due to the Department and Portfolio Committee intervention that resulted in the ICASA regulating the call termination rate. Meanwhile, Cell C has filed a complaint with the Competition Commission accusing the larger rivals MTN and Vodacom of an anti-competitive behavior. Let's take the story further. Joining us from our Cape Town studio, and our parliamentary studios to be exact, is Eric Kholwane. He is the chair of the Parliamentary Oversight Committee on Communications. Eric, it's good to have you. Welcome to Morning Live.
Morning to you, Leanne, and our viewers at home.
Okay, so the crux of the complaint is that the two dominant players discriminate between their on-net and off-net effective prices, which has a dramatic and direct impact on smaller operators' ability. So explain to us how. How does it have an effect?
Let me start by saying the issue of cost to communicate, as you know it, we've been saying is expensive, in particular in South Africa. But when you come to the direct issue of off-net and on-net, is that the person or people who should benefit are South African in general. But what the other operators will do, which in other countries like Nigeria and so on, they've already outlawed such a practice, is that if we belong to one operator, maybe operator C, what happened is that if I phone another person who belongs to operator C, we'll have discounts. But if I decide to phone a person who belongs to operator B, and then the price is expensive, in some jurisdiction has been viewed as anti-competitive because the actual benefit is for the consumer. They don't understand why must you discriminate by the fact that the consumer decided to belong to the operator, which another operator which is different from the other one, and so on.
Yeah. Does he have a valid argument, Cell C's Alan Not Craig? I mean, arguing that calling from one network to another, you get penalised without even knowing it. But I actually don't even know people's cell phone numbers anymore. I press their picture. That's all I do, along with everybody else. You just phone their name. So, I mean, does he have a valid argument?
The reality, Leanne, is that in South Africa, we don't know what you are paying for, as you are paying for when we are making a call. That has been acknowledged by the operators when they appear before the portfolio committee, that indeed, even their pricing structure is confusing. They've got a lot of packaging, so you don't know exactly when you make a call, what are you paying for. And that confusion of a lack of transparency in terms of the pricing, in terms of what we are paying for, is part of the problem. So it has a point to as far as that, because if I belong to another operator network and I want to call you and we are on the other one, I don't understand why now as a consumer, not as another operator, because you see this issue of call termination, it's a matter which is happening within the operators themselves. But in this instance, indeed, it does have an impact to the consumer, where you must be forced now to belong to another operator network so that you are able to benefit in terms of the on-net calls.
Yeah. Let's talk about this mobile termination rate, because we're seeing now that the interconnection rate is now at 40 cents. It's still believed to be too high, and the intention is to drop it to 10 cents by 2016. Talk to us about this. What exactly does it mean in layman's terms?
What it means is that, as you know, that if we are belonging maybe to one network operator, maybe let's say Cell C or Telkom Mobile, when you phone making a call from your operator, then phoning to another one. So what happened, your call will start in your operator but finishes in another system or network of the other operator. Then you'll have to pay for terminating that call in the other operator. So that's what it's all about in the main. But what has happened is that you know that before the introduction of Cell C, it was around 25 cents. Then midnight, when Cell C was licensed, then the two operators, Vodacom and MTN, they upped it to R1.25. So what we've been dealing with is that they wanted, firstly, into 2010, the issue was around reducing it from that amount, which we felt that it was unreasonable, and there was no method even which was used why they've done that, except that it was seen as an anti-competitive behavior, so that to push out Cell C, because Cell C was the new kids on the block, whereas themselves, both Vodacom and MTN benefited when they come into the market 93, 94 on Telkom, because at that time there was an arrangement that when you phone from Telkom, so Telkom was giving both MTN and Vodacom around 20 cents, whereas Telkom was getting only 4 cents in terms of the call termination. But when Cell C come in, then they upped that to R1.25 and so on, which was unfair. So we think that in this instance, the regulator is on course and is doing very well to ensure that you must have that asymmetric connection, which allows new players who are coming in the industry to benefit from the interconnection so that they can survive, because that is the phenomenon throughout the world which even benefited both Vodacom and MTN, although today they behave as if their success was just by their efficiency and so on, but we know very well that there were issues which were made easy for them to survive.
Just finally, and very quickly, the operators still have to make submissions and respond to the regulator's proposal. Does this mean that they can actually object this?
Yes, they still have to go to the regulator and make submission this coming week. They can object, but the fact of the matter is the cost to communicate in South Africa is expensive, and they accept. You listen, if you follow the story, you listen to them, you'll hear that they are not talking about anything. The only thing they will saying, this is going to reduce our profit, not that it's going to put them under. It's only going to reduce their profit, which is also not correct, because 2010, when interconnection was reduced, in fact, both Vodacom and MTN, they had more money. They made a lot of profit out of that process because people spend more time in the network because they can afford to spend time in the network.
Yeah. All right. Let's leave it there. Thank you so much for talking to us here on Morning Live. Interesting case. Very, very interesting case. Eric Kowane, who's joining us from our parliamentary studio. He, of course, chairs the Parliamentary Oversight Committee on Communications, talking about what's going on in the cellular market at the moment. We're talking about MTN, Vodacom, Telkom, Cell C arguing with Vodacom and MTN. What do you think? I mean, just listening to those numbers, it's ridiculous what we are being charged. It just absolutely is ridiculous. Do you actually look at your cell phone bill at the end of the month, or do you just see the total cost going up and say, oh, things are getting expensive? Or do you really look at it and realize that, actually, I think that we are being taken advantage of? Oh, maybe we should look closer. All right, let's see what comes of it. Write to us. We'd love to hear from you.